All right, here's something that we don't, I guess we, people on YouTube that talk about mixed martial arts, you don't hear people talking about this very much. Every once in a while you do. Used to hear about it more, maybe years ago. So I'm going to title this, Is Jon Jones the greatest MMA fighter of all time? The answer is absolutely not, no. And the reason I say that is because we don't really know who the greatest MMA fighter is, because there's of rules. The way he's the best. I mean, you could say these guys, George St. Pierre. I mean, is George St. Pierre the greatest mixed martial artist of all time? No way, and not even close. And is he, the best welterweight that ever fought in the UFC as far as record goes, and and dominance and all that? Yeah, but it's because of the rules of the UFC. I mean, guys, when there was Pride, okay, and there was UFC, Pride was known for having the best fighters in the world. Everybody regarded Pride as having the best fighters in the world. I mean, Chuck Liddell fought in Pride, and he lost. Anderson Silva fought in Pride and lost. Then they came to the UFC and they were dominant champions in the UFC, and everybody knew that. So that's just one example. But back in the day, Pride was known when Fedor was a champ. Pride was known for having the best fighters in the world. It was the toughest organization to fight in, the most ruthless organization to fight in. So the UFC, and I follow the UFC fights. You guys all know that because I like fighting, and I definitely like it how it is now. But I think it could be a lot better. I'm more of a true fight fan. Aside from eye poking or some form of cheating, I'm more of an anything goes, and I don't think there should be. I don't think there should be rounds. I think it should be like, let's have a fight, because that's what a fight is. Mixed martial arts is supposed to be a fight. If you get in a fight, you don't say, okay, let me stop and catch my breath now. You know what I mean? That's for boxing, and if you're a fan of that, then go watch boxing, or go watch kickboxing, or go watch something else. You can't foot stomp people in the head. You can't foot stomp people in the face. If you don't like that, then go watch a jiu-jitsu match. Go watch some guy sit down on his butt, lay on his back. You know what I mean? And let someone climb into his guard. Because, and jiu-jitsu is great. Jiu-jitsu is awesome. I love jiu-jitsu. I'm not bashing it. I'm not bashing boxing. I'm not bashing anything. But in fighting, if you lay down on your back, somebody's going to come up and jump and foot stomp your face, your skull. It's, this is fighting. That's what, they're calling it mixed martial arts. So maybe that's why they're, I don't know. I want to see fighting. Mixed martial arts, every type of martial art, every type of fight, any type of fighting, all in one. Let's see people fight. So, so it's like, let's put this. What I was getting at was when Pride was known for having the best fighters in the world. Then when Pride folded, a lot of those fighters came to the UFC and they didn't do as well. Now, let me just give you food for thought, because I think people's genuine consensus, the way they think, oh, the guys in Pride weren't as good as we thought, and that's not true. If the UFC had folded, say Pride was around all the way up when, like, say, George St. Pierre was fighting, and the UFC folded, and George St. Pierre went to Pride. He would get killed, man. He would get destroyed. He would get destroyed. There's no way. He's not tough enough. I mean, you see George St. Pierre get punched in the face, and he's all wobbly, and you know what I mean? He can't deal with that type of fighting. That's why he fights like that. He got knocked out by Matt Serra, and he just takes people down and lays on them. In Pride, they don't let you do that. They stand you up. If you stay active, but they stand you up. They stand you up more than they do in more than they do in the UFC. That's for sure. So, guys, the rules are different. That's why I think multiple organizations, in a lot of ways, was better. And I don't like the rules of the UFC. And I'm not the only one. You know, they say it's for the health of the fighters, but you know, like you can't kick somebody in the head when they're on the ground, but you can kick them in the head when they're standing up. I mean, what's the difference? Either way, if you get kicked in the head, you get kicked in the head. I mean, picture Holly Holm kicking Ronda Rousey in the head. She was like this, ugh. And what's the difference? If you stomp someone in the face, you know, kick them in the head while they're on the ground. I mean, the only difference is they're just in a different position. Either way, they got kicked in the head. You could say, oh, it takes less skill. No, it takes more skill. It takes more skill because you're going to have people just laying down on the ground thinking that that's okay to do that in a fight, when it's not. You don't just lay on the ground. You get up. You know what I mean? I mean, ground fighting is fine, but that's the last place you want to be in a fight. You know, it's simple as that. It's as simple as that. So is Jon Jones the greatest fighter of all time? No, he's not. He's just the greatest under these type of rules. Mixed martial arts should be more of... I think that they should have... you know, I talked on this before. The UFC, if we're making a true... There's not going to be any true perfect rules, right? But I think the more variety that we can have... I mean, I don't even think people should know who their opponent is. I just have maybe a group of people that are going to fight that day, and then, boom, call them out. Or heck, what if you had, like, all the UFC fighters show up? I mean, this is kind of crazy. And then they all had a number, and they drew from, you know, if you still have divisions, you drew from certain divisions, and these two are going to fight. Just boom, like that. And there'll be no weigh-ins, you know, there'll be no weigh-ins or anything like that. They don't drug test. They drug test them after the fights. That's what they do now anyway. You know, something like that. No more this weigh-in nonsense. No more this. We know we're gonna fight this type of fighter, so let's run away from him because he can outstrike us. So let's run away from him the whole time. See if we can get off enough points to win the scoring system. I mean, that's not fighting. That is not fighting. And what I was going to say is have one, you know, let's say you had an event like this and people don't know who they're fighting. When you show up to the event, prior to getting there, you didn't know if it was going to be in a ring. You didn't know if it was going to be in a cage. You didn't know the shape of the ring. You didn't know the shape of the cage, the size of the ring, the size of the cage. Mix it up. Because certain fighters, they do that in tennis. They do that in tennis. They fight they play on different surfaces. One day they're on, I don't know what they're on, clay. One next day they're on grass. Then they're on some type of asphalt or something. And certain players do better under, I mean, they play tennis on like clay. It's like all slippery and then, you know, so it's different. And I think that they should do that in fighting too. Why not? Mix it up. Because even the guys, like, they said that, like Mirko Cro Cop said that. You know, he's fighting in a ring, and he came, you know, from kickboxing. When you're back against the ropes, you can lean, you can get out of the way of punches, and then all of a sudden now you're in a cage. They got you against the cage. You know, so there's nothing wrong with that. But let's make it fair. Let's, you know, maybe one time you're in a cage, the bigger guy's got the advantage. He could push you up against the cage. But now the next time, you know, we're in a ring and things are different. I mean, look, if Fedor was a small guy and he fought all those heavyweights and he fought in a ring and, you know, he came and you know, like something like a cage is just not as conducive, at least for the heavyweight division. It's not as conducive for a smaller guy to dominate a heavyweight division. So, you know, I'm not saying don't have a cage. I'm saying mix it up. I mean, what if you had literally half a cage and half of a ring? Oh man, see, now we're thinking. Half a cage, half a ring. How crazy would that be? I mean, let's mix it up and let's see who's the best with the best fighter. You know what I mean? Not let's like when you take certain elements of mixed martial arts that we've seen in the past, when you take those elements and you just throw them off to the side, it lets people sit and calculate and cheat the system too much. And I think there's a lot of that going on. And I only posted this as Jon Jones the Greatest. Maybe I won't post that. I was going to do that, put that in the title. I might title it something else. Because it sounds like I'm bashing Jon Jones, and I'm not. But I do hear people talking like he's the greatest. And I just think that people should be more open-minded. I want to watch true fighting. I mean, there was a time that like you could strike to the groin. That wasn't even illegal. That was legal. I mean, guys are wearing cups anyway, but I mean, you could do that in a street fight, but people get in a fight. You don't usually see somebody trying to punch someone in the balls. You know what I mean? It's just certain things that people just don't naturally do in fighting. I think that wasn't against the rules just because they didn't want to have to keep stopping the action. Someone say, "Oh, I got hit in the groin," you know, when they really didn't. You know, maybe they got hit here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're supposed to be wearing a cup anyway. And, you know, so anyway, guys, that's a little bit of my thoughts on that. I really would like to see more variety in, you know, in these fights, man. In UFC, it's a little bit, you know, I don't know where it's going. I just think it would be so much better. We get to see such a better variety of fighters. Maybe you see guys in the UFC that you don't see now because it's just, you know, it's not conducive to their fight style. And also we're seeing a lot of repetition. I mean, a lot of these guys, they all fight the same way. And the reason, I mean, it's literally like watching the same fights over. I mean, every once in a while we see somebody like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson come in and he looks different. But like a lot of these guys, I mean, it's the same thing. They shoot for a single leg takedown and then they throw some punches and their kicks are all the same. And it gets a little bit boring, but the reason is they're in a cage. There's a certain way that you're going to have to fight in a cage. It's as simple as that. So why not mix it up and then change the rules up too? Change the rules up. Give people more freedom to be, you know, give people more freedom to fight. I'll see you guys. Like Anderson Silva, when he knocked out, what's it, Aoki with his foot while he was in guard. And then they said that that's illegal. It's like, that's like the coolest knockout I've ever seen in my life. Like, what do you mean that's illegal? He's on his back and knocked the guy out. I mean, you know, but you're not supposed to do that, right? It's like, that's stupid. It's like rules like that. They had too many rules. Let's watch some fighting. And it doesn't, the rules that they have, you know, they think like, it doesn't make the sport safer. There's nothing safe about mixed martial arts. I mean, you can die from internal bleeding from getting punched in the stomach. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you could land on your head and get, you know, paralyzed. I mean, it's a dangerous thing, fighting. But making more rules and saying that, you know, kicks to a downed opponent is not as safe. That's not true, man. It's just simply not true. You're just getting knocked out is getting knocked out. We see plenty of guys getting knocked out under those rules. So what's the difference if they get knocked down on the ground? Anyway, guys, I'll see you later.